Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare offers thousands of inspiring classes for lifelong learners. Members get unlimited access to a wide variety of classes with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions. Brush up on your creative writing skills, learn how to paint with watercolors, or develop a new love of gardening. I've been going through Personal Productivity, 5 exercises to make your big goal a reality, a Skillshare original from Kate Ahrens. I have a few big work projects planned, but struggle to find time to work on them without neglecting my regular weekly work. This class helped me make a plan to be able to work on these big projects without feeling overwhelmed. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. With an annual subscription, Skillshare is less than $10 a month. If you would like to see what Skillshare has to offer, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership, so you can explore your creativity. Thank you. "32-year-old Lauren Colvin Thompson was the single mother of 3 children, ages 3, 5, and 9, at the beginning of 2019. On the afternoon of January 10th, she was spending time with a group of friends in Panola County, Texas, after reportedly going fishing earlier in the day. Just before 2 p.m. that afternoon, Lauren called her mother, Tori Colvin, sounding anxious. She asked to speak to her children, but they could not come to the phone at that time. Tori believed she heard someone arguing with her daughter in the background. Lauren apologized for previous behavior and told her mother that if she ever got out of this, she would never do drugs again. Tori asked Lauren if she was in trouble and advised her to call the local authorities if she were. Lauren told her mother she loved her, asked her to tell her father that she loved him and that she was sorry before hanging up. The 7-minute-long phone call ended right at 2 o'clock. 8 minutes later, Lauren called 911. She sounded panicked and told the dispatcher that she was being chased. The call lasted for more than 20 minutes before abruptly ending. Authorities could not get Lauren back on the phone despite repeated efforts and believed that her cell phone must have run out of battery. Lauren had provided the dispatcher with her location, and authorities were quick to respond to the scene. They found Lauren's vehicle along an oil and gas lease road off of County Road 267 at FM 1794, just west of the Rock Creek community, stuck in a muddy ditch. When they arrived at the nearby home of the man who had been driving in the vehicle with Lauren, he was there, getting his own vehicle to bring back to the scene to pull Lauren's car out of the ditch. He told them that they had been driven off the road by another car. Paint transfer on Lauren's vehicle supported this claim. He had told Lauren to stay with her car while he walked home to get his vehicle and some chains to pull her car out of the ditch. Later that evening, authorities also located one of Lauren's shoes. Between the location of the vehicle, where they found the shoe, and the pings from Lauren's cell phone during her 911 call, they were able to approximate the path Lauren took as she ran away from her car. The initial search for her lasted all night, but Lauren was not found. In the months following Lauren's disappearance, authorities searched more than 2,000 acres of land on the ground and 9,000 acres from the air with helicopters and drones over the course of multiple searches. Large sections of the search area were heavily wooded, making them difficult to search. Furthermore, there was extensive flooding in the area at the time Lauren disappeared, making certain places impossible to search until months after she went missing. All-terrain vehicles and search dogs were brought in to help with the searches, which received personnel from numerous agencies, including the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. The Texas Rangers and the FBI have provided resources to the investigation. The 3 individuals Lauren was known to be with on the day she disappeared have been interviewed and taken polygraph examinations. One of them passed away in the months after Lauren went missing. In the first few months following Lauren's disappearance, there were some disagreements between her family and law enforcement. Lauren's parents, Tori and G.W. Colvin, have been very active in looking for their daughter, and had hoped to organize further searches for her. However, so far, only members of law enforcement have participated in searches, and the Colvins were told at one point that this was in part because the area surrounding where Lauren vanished was all private property, and the owners wanted to control who had access to their land. However, according to Tori Colvin, the owners of the property were in fact willing to help with further searches with volunteers from outside of law enforcement. There are, of course, other concerns authorities have about volunteer searches. We had a lot of local people offering to search too. Not that we don't appreciate that, and there's times that that's utilized. But when we have teams that are available to come, that are used to dealing with and trained to deal with crime scenes, and we have the potential to have a crime scene, obviously that's who we want on the ground, so we don't contaminate everything, said Panola County Sheriff Kevin Lake. The Panola County Sheriff's Office has denied requests from the media to release the recording of the 911 call Lauren made, as they believe it contains information important to their investigation. Joey Ortega, a private investigator working on the case with the Colvins and acting as their spokesperson, was allowed to listen to the tape and agrees with this decision. Lauren's parents were also allowed to listen to the recording. According to Tori Colvin, while her daughter sounded anxious when she spoke to her just prior to her disappearance, she sounded coherent and not as terrified as she sounded during the 911 call. While authorities initially believed the 911 call ended abruptly because Lauren's cell phone battery died, further investigation has shown that the phone in fact continued to ping after the call ended. The final ping occurred 20 minutes after the 911 call ended. Tori Colvin has also stated, after hearing the recording, that at the end of the call, it sounded like Lauren had been startled by someone. According to Joey Ortega, the fact that the phone continued to ping, along with that data showing that the call ended nowhere near any river or place where one was likely to run into a wild animal, along with her claim that she was being chased, all lends to a reasonable belief that she was in fact kidnapped and not lost, drowned, or attacked by an animal. Sheriff Lake says his office has not yet found solid evidence confirming that foul play is involved in Lauren's disappearance, and will not rule that foul play is involved until such evidence is found. We can speculate, but it's not our job to speculate. We're fact finders, and so we have not collected any evidence to make us confirm that foul play is involved, he said in February of 2020. Could there be foul play involved? Absolutely, and that's why we're so concerned about preserving if we find a crime scene. He has also stated that he does not believe that Lauren willingly walked away from her life because she would not have left behind her children. Lauren's family initially offered a $5,000 reward for information in the case, and doubled that reward to $10,000 in June of 2020. They also announced the creation of a tip line, which would allow individuals to call in or text information about the case while remaining anonymous and avoiding direct contact with law enforcement. In the press release announcing this information, the family said that they hoped that through their independent efforts and working in concert with law enforcement, they can get a clear picture of what happened to Lauren that January afternoon. Amanda Rudge was born in the United Kingdom in 1964 and moved to the United States before she was a year old. After living in several states, Amanda's mother Sylvia left Amanda's father and took Amanda with her to Canada. Amanda was shy as a child, but grew into a determined and independent adult. On the evening of August 21st, 1991, 27-year-old Amanda was at the apartment she shared with her mother on Enfield Place in Mississauga, Ontario. She had several piercings in each of her ears and was having trouble removing one of her earrings as she was getting ready to go out for the evening. Sylvia had to help her daughter remove it. Amanda then left the apartment for the night, taking just a purse with her. She never came home. Amanda would sometimes spend a night or two at a friend's home, so Sylvia did not immediately panic when she was not home the following morning. Once several days went by with no sign of Amanda, however, she knew something was wrong and went to the police. The police did not take the disappearance seriously and may not have investigated it at all. When the Ontario Provincial Police began investigating the case years later, no missing persons file on Amanda with the local authorities could be located. Sylvia was told that Amanda was an adult who could make decisions without informing her mother. Sylvia believes that Amanda's lifestyle may have played a role in how the authorities viewed her disappearance. Amanda had suffered from an eating disorder and eventually developed problems with drugs and alcohol. She ran with a rough crowd, and her employment history working as a hairstylist and bartender was spotty. Amanda was known to police, having previously spent a few days in jail on minor charges. More relevant to her disappearance was the fact that she had been involved with the police investigation in the summer of 1991 and had been about to appear as a witness against several of her acquaintances when she went missing. Just a few days before Amanda disappeared, her mother had received a phone call from a man with a Caribbean accent. He did not identify himself, but told Sylvia that if Amanda testified in court, she would never be seen again. Sylvia believes that it is possible Amanda left home to protect both herself and her mother from retribution from the people she was due to testify against. It is of course also possible that she disappeared because she met with foul play at the hands of one or more of those people. Without assistance from the police, Sylvia looked for her daughter on her own. In the weeks and months following Amanda's disappearance, she regularly traveled to downtown Toronto looking for her, or anyone who knew her. She ran ads in the Toronto Star, asking for information, for years. In the years since she disappeared, Amanda has not used her health insurance or credit cards, and there has been no record of her using her driver's license as a form of identification. She did not have a passport at the time of her disappearance, and there is no record of her crossing the border into the United States, which did not always require a passport. Amanda's name made it to the missing persons list maintained by the Ontario Provincial Police in 2007, following an investigation by a different regional police force into a set of unidentified human remains, which were ultimately found to not belong to Amanda. This resulted in new inquiries, but no new answers. In 2016, the case was sent to the OPP's Criminal Investigations Branch as a matter of routine. In 2017, they formally reopened the case, following an unconfirmed sighting of Amanda in Illinois, but she remains missing. I look back on many things, and yes, she tried to protect me, and probably still does to this day, if she's out there, alive, Amanda's mother Sylvia said in 2017. I want people to know that Amanda was a good person, and no matter what she may have done that was wrong, she loved me, and I her. In 2011, 33-year-old Anthony Tyrone Lee lived in Longview, Texas, with his mother, Sharon Bowers. That June, he was about to make a trip to Houston, where he would be helping his sister move into a new home. Prior to leaving on that trip, he had plans to attend a rodeo with his mother. However, on June 25th, the day of the rodeo, his mother arrived home, only to find that her son was not there. Sharon quickly realized that something was not right. The ironing board had been set up, and the clothes Anthony had planned to wear to the rodeo were with it. However, one of the pant legs was still hanging off of the side of the board, as though Anthony had been in the middle of ironing the pants, and was somehow interrupted. Anthony's clothing and shoes were still in the home, and as best as Sharon could determine, her son had left home wearing his house shoes, which was out of character for him. Anthony's mood had recently changed, and he had been acting nervous in the weeks before he went missing. He had $600 in the bank, which remained in his account, untouched. 3 weeks after Anthony's disappearance, Sharon began receiving disturbing phone calls. At first, the caller would play what Sharon described as some kind of death song. Then came calls from someone telling Sharon that's what he gets for snitching. The last person Anthony saw prior to his disappearance, as far as his mother knows, was a known local drug dealer who had wrecked Anthony's car a week before he went missing. Sharon feared that Anthony may have gotten himself into a situation where either he felt like he needed to go into hiding or someone else was holding him somewhere. However, since Anthony left behind his belongings and his money, and because of the phone calls, Sharon is not optimistic that he will return home. "I don't feel like my child is still living," she told the Longview News-Journal. "After all the flyers and all the friends he has, it's just not like him to not call and talk to anybody." The Longview Police Department ran out of leads to follow by the first anniversary of Anthony's disappearance, but has not given up on his case. Anthony is listed in state and national missing persons databases. "There's somebody that knows what happened to my son, and all we want is to know, too," Sharon Bowers said in 2012.